First of all, I would like to thank our heartfelt partner, GoodWe, for the organization of this event and also for their years of contributions to the industry innovation and ideas sharing. Without their efforts, we are unable to gather so many thought leaders and interesting perspectives today. Joe and James, the representatives from GoodWe, will also provide great presentations in the following hour. Also joining me here are some of the most impactful stakeholders who are leading and champion the APAC solar industry. From Ms. Holly Hu, Senior Analyst of IHS Markit, to Mr. Andrew Clark, Head of ASEAN Solar Development of BayWa, one of the most prominent developers in the region. Mr. Dawei Zhao, Director of Solar APAC and GM of Vietnam of Power China Bottom Engineering. Mr. Andrew Zhang, Technical Sales Manager of JA Solar, the Taiwan panel manufacturer globally. And Mr. Max Zhang, Head of APAC region of Arctech, the leader in Solar Tracker. Their participation just made my day, and I believe it makes yours as well. If you have any questions for them, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please seize the opportunity. As today we have a very compact agenda, without further ado, let's kick off our meeting with a welcome speech from our partner, GoodWe's Manager of Southeast and Middle Asia region, Mr. Joe Zhang. Joe, please take the stage.
Hello, Molly, and thanks everybody. Distinguished guests, partners, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe, Manager of Southeast and Middle Asia region of GoodWe. On behalf of our colleagues in the Asia Pacific region, I would like to thank you all for joining the GoodWe APAC event. Last year, we held the first GoodWe series successfully, which has attracted over more than 5,000 attendants from 75 countries and regions. GoodWe 2022, as our first solar webinar of this year, will look at what lies ahead in the whole year. The main theme is from pioneer to innovator. The event will showcase our plans for the new product, as well as innovative projects and technology solutions. GoodWe APAC session outlines the challenges and opportunities of the APAC market presents. Today, we will focus on the utility and C&I scale to listen to the core consideration from the EPC and show the comprehensive solutions. GoodWe views technology innovation as a key brand pillar and is always committed to harnessing smart technology to achieve energy transition and create a more sustainable future together. This is the cause for which we have been struggling, just as the theme from pioneer to innovator indicates. While a global energy transition is underway, GoodWe is willing to be an innovator to welcome challenges. This year, we have refreshed the brand in line with evolution of the global new energy space, emphasizing cooperation and digitalization. The new logo has been officially launched, accomplished by our new brand slogan, Smart Energy Innovator. Collaboration and sharing also comes through in our brand conception. From good to we. We always wish to build an energy community through a win-win approach. Today, we invited strategy partners from various fields of the photovoltaic industry. Please welcome our partners, IHS Markit, JA Solar, Arctech, Power China, and BayWa. Next, I'd like to hand over the presentation to next speaker, Holly Hu, Senior Analyst from the IHS Markit. Let's welcome. She will introduce the outlook of APAC solar market in Q1 of 2022 and key trends beyond. At the same time, let me extend cordial greetings to our guests. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for the kind introduction. And now let's welcome Ms. Holly Hu, Senior Analyst of IHS Markit, on the stage. Holly.
Yeah. Hello everyone. and happy Women's Day. I'm Holly Hu from IHS Markit. Today, I'm glad to got the invitation from Goodway to show our views on the outlook of APAC solar market and key trends. My presentation will in just two parts. So over the next 15 to 20 minutes, I will go through with the key APAC solar market demand and also the key trends in those key markets. So before we discuss the detail about demand in APAC regions, I would like to have a more micro views on those carbon emissions in this trend, because we know the carbon target set up in the different countries and the nations and well brings a lot of attention to the new renewables, especially for solar. So in this table, we're showing the key 6 countries in this regions, and 4 of them already set up their 2015 or 2060 net zero carbon emission targets. And although not all of them set up the details, but for the renewable targets, they all have a quite detailed numbers in their renewable shares in their future energy mix. Such as Japan, we know they are just released their 6th energy plan to mention the renewable targets was increased from 22% to 24% and to 36 to 38%. Also, the solar will covers like 50% of renewables shares in the by 2030. And later slides, I will give you the more details about how Japan market will perform in the solar installation regarding with this energy targets. And also from our power team, the analysts also providing the key summaries for the Southeast Asian countries about their climate commissions in recently. So you will saw this 7 countries in the APAC region, in Southeast Asian regions. They are all set up their planning for the 2050 or 2060. Like Vietnam is a quite interesting market in the past, and especially for the solar in 2022. And they also have pledged to achieve the net zero emissions by 2015. And also they're planning to phase out the coal-fired power generation by 2040s. We know Vietnam is a quite outstanding APAC or Southeast Asian countries in this region, and they are quite have a higher performance in the solar in the 2020. The same as we are also close look at the aids of their PDP planning. And even though they have less targets in the solar in the future ground mount system, but we still thought this market will quite important with their DPV and long-term outlook for the solar as well. And also another country at one point in this page is Singapore. They also target to peak to target their emission to peak by 2030s and to be halved by 2050 and to achieve the net zero post by 2050. In Singapore market, they also announced quite a higher price for the carbon price guidance. They mentioned in 2024 to 2025, their carbon price will be raising up like 25 Singapore dollars. And by 2030s, the numbers will nearly doubled from, more than doubled from 15 Singapore dollars to 80 Singapore dollars per ton for the carbon price. So quite price intensive, the carbon emissions plan. So that growth market will bring a lot of attentions in the renewable planning and also with their future investment. Then we close look at from the assets investment values in the next 3 decades. In this chart, in these 2 charts, we are summarizing the key renewable investment in the 2022 to 2050, and by key regions, and also by different type of technologies in renewables. So in the pie chart, we estimate the total investment during this period will reach like $12.8 trillion. So the mainland China and APEC will leading with this investment, like covers more than 40% of total renewable assets investment in the 33 decades during this period. And also from technology side, we saw solar, like utility scale solar, DPV, onshore wind, offshore wind, other renewables, battery and hydrogen, still quite important in the renewables technology part, will have a strong growth during this period. And solar was also covers like more than 50% every renewable investment in during this period. And the shares of renewable also had a significant increase. Like 2022, we saw the new added capacity investment like 6% of total power sector investment. And tier 2050, we're assuming like 80% of those power sector investment goes to the renewable side. And also from the annual base of investment level, we don't saw strong growth in the capex way, but the assumption for this is we still saw strong annual growth of renewable capacity add-in, but the same as we saw the renewable cost level of cost investment will decrease during year over year. And that's why we saw that the annual investment from 2022 to 2050 is still like 300 to 500, less than $500 per year, billion US per year. Okay, then we move to the solar markets. In 2022, we are still assuming the solar market will become quite strongly increasing with 28% of annual growth to 230 gigawatts level of total installation in this year. And compare with 181 gigawatts level in 2021, we still saw quite stronger robust growth in this year. And the main region still goes to the APEC regions, and mainland China is still the leading market, and followed by the USA and Indian and also the European countries. Also, we know the challenge this year is still among with the supply chain price. And even now in the Q1, we saw the poly price still at, increase again, even in the first quarter, because normally the first quarter was the weak demand in the seasonality, but we still saw the demand. We still saw the poly prices in the high level of, and that's why it brings a lot of pressures to the utility scale projects, because this segment of demand is more sensitive with the price. And another interesting point in here is we are showing like 24 countries with gigawatts level of installation, annual installation in 2022, compared with 21, only like 19 countries reached the gigawatts level installations is increasing a lot. So that means the demand, the global solar demand become more diversified than before. And also the APEC region have the 8 gigawatts level of installation annual countries in these regions. And then we move to the details for the APEC solar region shares. In this graph, we're showing the shares and also the amount of installation per annually compared with the global one. So you will saw the APEC region become quite larger demand, especially after Chinese become the leading demand center, making the APEC become the quite big shares of globally. So the shares of APAC region covers from the highest is the 2017. We know in that year, the China demand became the peak and then covers like more than 70 shares, 73 shares in the global demand. And in recent years, we saw the shares maintain like the 55 to 60 level of the global shares in the APAC regions. So the APAC solar demand is quite important to the global solar market. And also with the China as the leading country and also as the center of the supply chain, is also have a lot of impact of influence with the global demand. So then we go to clear about the top 10 markets compared in 2021 and 2022. In the top 10 markets, we saw in the pie chart both 2 years charts, and we saw there's 5 countries in APAC regions have the top 10 markets, like China, India, Australia, Japan, and South Korea is the key 5 countries in the APAC region covers listed in the top 10 markets. And these 5 countries already have more than 50% of global markets. So the APAC region have the key countries and have the large shares into the total solar market. And then we found another slide to look at the APAC solar demand by segmentations and in the 3 different periods from 2011 to 2025. You will saw the APAC solar demand still quite dominant with the utility scale, especially during the 2016 to 2020, and with more than 60% of APAC region demand comes to the utility scale. But actually, this segmentation is quite driven by the key markets in the APAC. So we saw in the right-hand side chart, we also break down these 3 periods of the key market in APAC. We showed the top 8 markets, like we say, have a gigawatt level of installations annually. So you will find China still covers a lot of shares in APAC, but in early time, like 2011 to 2015, Japan still quite important into the APAC region market. And that's why we saw during this period of time, the DPV, like the distribution generation PV, still also have large shares because Japan is quite dominant with the DPV demand. And later on, with China become the key countries in the 2016 to 2020, and the market demand driven to the utility scale. But now, during 2021 to 2025 periods, we saw the shares become back. I mean, the DPV become quite similar shares with the utility scale because we saw China also increasing the DPV demand recently, and also with the policy coming into the DPV market and driven growth demand quite important with the APAC total demand. Okay, then we move into the key trends for this market for the APAC regions. Definitely China, mainland China will be impact a lot for these regions. And that's why we're giving a little bit historical trends in the solar market from mainland China. We break down them by the DPV and utility scale. During the 12th of 5 years plan, we saw China solar is kind of small or even have a less than gigawatts level of demand goes to the more than 10 gigawatts level during the 12th of 5 years plan. And at that time, the utility scale still quite dominant with the China demand. And in the 35 years plan period, we saw China market quite booming with strong demand goes to the utility scale and the DPV market, especially since 2017. And if we are showing the latest period of performance, and you will saw like especially in 2021, the DPV market is quite strongly supporting with the China demand in recently. And then we using another maps to showing the trend of China demand in the in different way. In the right hand side map, we're showing the DPV cumulative DPV installations till Q3 last year, and basically in the DPV market is quite dominant by the few provinces in near the east areas and near the sea, and you will find like Shandong, Hebei, Henan, and Zhejiang, Jiangsu, Anhui, Anhui. Those provinces quite dominant in the DPV market with a strong demand, especially like Shandong, Henan, Hebei is the key province for the residential market, and also in the utility scale of projects, we saw in the right-hand side map, you will find the western province has become quite important markets for the utility scale because those provinces have a higher solar radiation, and also with the FIT level in early time with the higher price, those regions are quite suitable for build up with huge mega solar base like Xinjiang, Qinghai, Inner Mongolia, and Ningxia. But in the center of this map is the Guizhou province. This province, they got a lot of projects goes to the subsidized FIT programs since 2019 and 20. That's why they are building a lot of utility scale projects during these 2 years. Okay, then we move into the seasonality effect of China installations. And we normally checking the monthly installation connection number goes to from the CEC. And you will find in the final months, the China market was quite significant. We normally call the rush installation in the final months. And definitely because of the policy time schedule for those projects. We normally have the end of FIT level by the end of year. And also in 2019 and 2020, we still have the final round of subsidy programs. And that's why we saw the rush installation in the final months. And 2021, also the final months increasing a lot. But with this 20 gigawatts of final connection number, they still have a difference in the demand segments, because we saw in the final months of last year, they have like more than 5 gigawatts of residential demand, and also 2 or 3 gigawatts goes to the DPV, the CMI DPV, and the utility scale shares is declining compared with the 2019 and 2020's solar connection number in the past years. And then we talk about quite key very important market demand in China in last 3 years, because since 2019, our residential market have a different policy that's why they drivers the demand in the past 3 years to 37 gigawatts level of connection number. So basically the key province like Shandong, Hebei, Henan, these 3 provinces accounts more than 75% of the residential market in this period. And the size of a residential market is quite large because we have a fully on-grid policies, and in the certain space of rooftop, and you can you will enjoy as much to build up as larger size of projects as much, and then making the highest FIT levels. And in the next few years, we saw very important policy goes to the residential and the CMI sector is the county rooftop distributed PV development program. And in the last year, the NEA released like 676 counties and cities. They are in the first round of pilot projects, and then this demand will drivers in the next few years of the PV market. And that's why we are listed the key province in China to showing how their growth potential in different ways and give different ratings and to those province. You will saw we listed the current market size, population levels, GDP growth, and also the numbers county in the pilot projects and solar irradiation hours, electricity tariff levels, and also the subsidy and financial support as the key categories, and to analysis the top 10 province level into the DPV market in China, and gives you a snapshot on how those market performance in the future will be. Maybe it's quite important to saw what kind of factors to drive those demand, and also how this province will performance in the later years. And also in China demand, we saw there's another large utility scale of demand goes to the mega solar base. By the end of last year, NEA also released like 97 gigawatts of mega base renewable projects, especially in the western province like Inner Mongolia and Shanxi, Qinghai, Gansu, Jilin. In 2022, they're planning to have 45.7 gigawatts projects complete, and also the remaining will finish by 2023. And that's why we giving like total demand for China in 2023, 2022 is around 80 gigawatts. Is a breakdown by the nearly 50% of DPV, and also the remaining with the utility scale. Okay, then we move into the Indian market. India is the second largest of solar market in impact regions. Although Indian market have a stronger potential with solar development, because in India, the average solar radiation hours is quite high. It's normally like 2,000 hours per year for the solar radiation. So it's quite a potential market in the impact regions. But in the past year, like since 2020, the Indian market is weaker than what we expected. The back reason is also we considering the COVID impact during 2020, and also a lot of industry level of supply chain side also impact with less market demand. But since 2021, Indian market become quite a stronger rebound because actually regarding with their trading distribute with Chinese players, and till the end of this month, I mean the end of March this year, they will have the higher tariff with the module and cell capacity from China to India, and that's why a lot of manufacturing players to rush to ship the modules into the Indian since last year, the second half last year. And also from the project level, we saw India actually have a lot of pipeline, the project pipeline, even though have some projects delayed from 2020 to 2021. And also with 2022, they still have a lot of projects in the pipeline with contract also some of them already under constructed. So with the huge pipeline in the utility scale in India, that's why we saw this year, 2022, Indian market demand will go to like 80 gigawatts level. And basic, especially the demand is quite dominant with utility scale. And also we talk about the Japan market. And we mentioned in the early this webinar, we saw Japan already raising up their renewable target and also with the solar mix to the 50% by 2030. So they're do the calculation with the target of solar generation by 2030 and give us the like 1,000 hours per year and gives the total solar installation target by 2030. And currently, till the end of last year, the Q3, the end of September last year, on the FIT level of projects, they already approved like 76 gigawatts AC of cumulative approved system in Japan, and already have 58.2 gigawatts of AC numbers into the operation levels. And then they still left like nearly 80 gigawatts level in the pipeline. And also, so that's why they calculate if they need to achieve the solar installation by 2030 with nearly 120 gigawatts level, how much they need now, and then gives the total numbers in here. So you will saw there 70.8 gigawatts in the pipeline, and also if the have organic growth, they still have like nearly 40 gigawatts. And if they need to achieve like 100 gigawatts level of a total cumulative installation, they still have a policy enhancement like 26 gigawatts. So that's why giving the next nearly 10 years of solar in Japan still quite stronger demand. Okay, then we a little bit talk about Southeast Asian countries. This region is also quite important. Although they have a lot of different countries in these regions and with different GDP growth in different regions, and that indicate with their power demand in this region is quite different as well. But we also saw their release a lot of renewable policy coming into the 2022. Like Philippines, they will hold their first round of renewable actions in 2022. And also Thailand will have their new 2022 power development plan. For the Singapore, they will mostly to import some renewable projects. And like Vietnam, we mentioned, the aids of power development plan is still quite a key for the next few years of renewable planning. And okay, that's I want to share today. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly, for the in-depth introduction, very informative. Holly is responsible for tracking and analyzing solar policies and markets in Asia, particularly China and Japan. She also provides in-depth coverage of the polysilicon to the PV module supply chain, with a focus on Chinese manufacturers as well. If you have any questions for Holly, drop the question in the Q&A box. I've already seen one in the Q&A box for Holly. Appreciate your kind patience, and we will get back to you later. And now, that session will be brought by Mr. Andrew Clark, Head of ASEAN Solar Development of BayWa. Andrew, may I invite you to provide a self-introduction before firing up your presentation?
Yes, thank you very much, Molly. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you. So thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting. Yes, my name is Andrew Clark. I am the Head of Solar Development for Southeast Asia with BayWa RE. I'm actually a last minute addition. The managing director, Daniel, was originally intending to join us today, but due to a conflict in his schedule, I volunteered to join you as well, or instead. So thank you very much for having me. I'm currently based in Singapore. I've been there for about 10 years. However, I'm responsible for all of Southeast Asia, which of course means that I travel frequently. Currently, I'm actually in Bangkok. So for my responsibilities with BayWa, my main focus is on large-scale projects. Currently, our main focus is on Malaysia, Vietnam, and Indonesia for PV. And in Indonesia, we're also working on small hydro projects as well. And of course, we're always looking for new markets and any exciting opportunities that may come by us.
Right. So Andrew, play the slides
yes.
On your end, or you want me to switch the slide for you?
Actually, would you mind sharing? That'd be great.
Okay, I can do that. Just one moment. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so as mentioned, the topic of discussion today is the Southeast Asia is rapidly developing large-scale markets. Probably next slide, please. Yeah, so for the discussion today, I think we'll just have a real quick overview of who BayWa is, who we are as a company, where our main focuses are. A quick overview of the Southeast Asia markets as we see them. And then if we have some time left over, then perhaps we'll go through some of the project references that we have completed in the region. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So BayWa Group, as I mentioned, a German company. The parent company has a 100+ year history working in agriculture, energy, building materials, and innovation and digitalization. BayWa RE, which is where I'm sitting, focuses 100% on renewable energy projects. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, BayWa AG, approximately 100-year-old company, globally active energy, agriculture, building materials. We have over 3,000 locations in 44 countries at the AG level. And then some sort of exciting news for us within the last 12 months or so. We have been joined at the BayWa RE level with a new partner who has taken 49% ownership of the company. This is Energy Infrastructure Partners, which is a Swiss infrastructure platform that is focused on renewable energy. And of course, this is an exciting time for us because we now have a renewed mandate to expand even more quickly than we have over the last few years. Next slide, please. Brief background on BayWa RE. As a company, we have had approximately 2.5 billion euros in turnover, about 3,300 employees. BayWa RE was founded in 2009, and we are now active in approximately 29 countries. So our focus is purely on renewable energy, and we are acting as a developer, service provider, distributor, and an energy solutions provider. So we cover the full spectrum of renewable energy. Next slide, please. Yeah, as I mentioned, globally active. We have 103 locations at the BayWa RE level in 29 countries. We're active in North America, Asia Pacific, and Europe, and also in Africa. Next, please. So for what we do, for projects, we have executed approximately 4.6 gigawatts of projects. This includes both wind and solar. We also have a very large and active pipeline. That being said, we're always interested in speaking to anyone who may have any leads for additional projects to add to the pipeline. We also have a services division. So we currently have approximately 10 gigawatts of projects under operations management. So we're doing the O&M for approximately 10 gigawatts of projects currently. We also have multiple strategies for how we own projects, but currently we are expanding our IPP portfolio, especially in selective markets. We also have approximately 25 years of solar distribution experience. So the distribution of products, panels, inverters, things of that nature. And then we are also quite active on the C&I scene. So we have direct PPAs with corporate clients, rooftops, things of that nature. Next slide, please. For Asia Pacific specifically, our regional hub is in Bangkok. This office is working on distribution, solar, wind, operation and maintenance, direct PPAs. This office is covering the full gamut of the options. In Vietnam, the last year or two, we've been extremely active, developing large-scale solar and wind projects, but also working quite diligently on rooftops and direct wire projects as well. And we have opened a warehouse in Vietnam as well for the distribution of goods. Indonesia, we've been quite active for a number of years. We currently are working on large-scale solar projects, hydro projects, small hydro projects, and very active on the C&I front as well. In Malaysia, one of our core markets, we are active in large-scale solar as well as C&I, and we also have warehouses there for distribution. In Malaysia, we have about 60 megawatts of projects which we have executed in the last few years. Singapore also active there, mostly on the C&I front. Have approximately 4 megawatts of rooftops, which we are currently constructing in Singapore. Japan, our main focus is on large-scale solar, where we have approximately 80 megawatts of projects. South Korea, the main focus is on large-scale solar and wind. We have about 70 megawatts of solar in construction currently, or soon to be in construction, perhaps I should say. And then we also have a robust wind pipeline, including 1.2 gigawatts of offshore that we have been working on. Philippines, we're very active with distribution, as well as, Philippines, we're quite active on distribution. And then in Australia, very, very large team, strong presence there. Solar, wind, C&I, hydrogen, again, full gamut of options in that market as well. And in Australia, I believe we have approximately 250 megawatts of combined wind and solar projects, which we have executed. Next slide, please. So at Biowa, we are a RE100 company. So not only are we developing green energy projects, but our parent company is also standing behind this and has committed to go 100% green. So it's for company values, we practice what we preach. Next slide, please. Maybe next slide. Thank you. Yeah, and then I think just to go through a real quick update on how we see the Southeast Asia large-scale solar markets currently. I think a lot of the information that Holly gave in the previous presentation, this is sort of reiterating the same view, I think. Malaysia, we're really seeing the LSS project, LSS program has had quite a bit of impact over the last few years. BayWa ourselves have participated with a number of projects. We're expecting the LSS 5 program to be announced this year. One of the major factors for many of us on this call, of course, is whether or not foreign participation will be allowed. I think that's something that's a little bit of an unknown right now for us at least, but fingers crossed that we can participate. I think it's been quite successful, as I mentioned, over the last few years, and it's quite exciting to see that Malaysia's focusing or giving attention towards actually executing green energy projects. For the corporate side, we are expecting there's multiple options for the different VPPA or corporate wheeling programs that are in the market right now. Previously, there were some limited programs which have now expired, but we're expecting that new projects or programs will be released in the future, hopefully in 2022. And this is really coming from, as we see it, it's really coming from the demand from many of the corporate clients who are really quite vocal and are pushing very hard for green energy to be allowed into the market. I think this is something that we're seeing over and over again in all of the markets that we work in, is there's sort of a shift of the drive coming from governments or from the utilities themselves, and really it's the off-takers, it's the energy users who are demanding green energy. And in Malaysia, we're seeing that this is true to form as well. Vietnam, as mentioned in the previous presentation, there's been phenomenal growth there over the last few years. I believe the current penetration is around 25% of the utility or the generation is solar. Of course, this is followed by sort of growing pains. There's a little bit of a hangover right now from the good old days, as the grid really needs to be strengthened. Most projects are, of course, seeing curtailment, which is an issue that needs to be settled. We're all, of course, waiting for the DPPA program to be released. It seems to be delayed yet again, but hopefully late 2022, this will be released. Again, from the corporate side, we know that there's an extreme amount of pressure being applied to the government to give them access to green energy. So again, encouraging, and it's corporates, the end users, who are pushing for this. And PDP8 also still delayed, but expected in 2022. Perhaps this next version will be a little bit more focused on wind. It seems that maybe ground mounted might not be the main focus this particular time. Of course, it's to be determined until the final regulation is released. No one really knows for certain. But from our point of view, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because this gives the market time to sort of catch up on the grid side and do the grid improvements that are required to allow the energy to flow properly throughout the markets. Singapore, again, very strong demand for renewable energy, especially coming from the corporates who are often headquartered here. However, because it's such a small country, there's very little land, very little space. To date, it's mostly been limited to rooftops and to floating PV projects. However, of course, the authorities appear to be driving ahead with the cross-border renewable energy programs. Unfortunately, the last cross-border program was taken up by Brown Energy from Malaysia, but I really think that the drive going forward is going to have to be green energy. And I think there was a lot of disappointment from the market when the Malaysian export went to brown energy. And of course, the growth, the expected growth in Singapore is quite high. They're targeting up to 8 gigawatts of clean energy by the mid of next decade. Indonesia, for the utility side, the PLN side, sort of limited success for the last few years, but we're starting to see some cracks in that. We're starting to see some large-scale floating solar projects that are currently in construction and are slated to come online soon. So perhaps the utility side will finally start moving. I think we all know the country has a huge amount of potential, and to date, the potential hasn't really been realized quite as robustly as it could be, or as it should be, to be honest. However, that being said, there's also, we're finding a huge amount of demand, again, from the corporate side, the factories, data centers, things of that nature, are really hungry for green energy. They need to meet their green energy requirements. And it's driving the market towards rooftops and direct wire type programs, or projects, I should say. Even though the market there is the regulatory side is quite complex, we are seeing quite a bit of growth there. And I do think that Indonesia has phenomenal potential going forward as well. As mentioned in the previous presentation as well, for Philippines, their renewable portfolio standards are being put in place. The drive for renewable energy is increasing. The green energy tariff program and the renewable energy credits programs have been opened, and we're seeing sort of slow but steady successes in that market. I think for many of us on this call, one of the main concerns, of course, is the 60/40 foreign ownership regulations, as well as a few other limitations in the market, especially for foreign players. But of course, it seems that they are also moving towards more and more green energy. And after the elections later this year, I think then we'll have a more clear understanding of what the next steps are. But again, corporate, the demands from both the utility side and the corporate side is there. So again, it's something that is sort of a necessity to happen sooner or later. Thailand, again, starting to warm up a little bit. The Thailand has recently been quite active in developing floating PV projects nationwide. We ourselves have just recently completed a floating solar project here in Thailand. And again, the floating, the FPV projects tend to be deployed on the existing reservoirs, allowing for sharing of the infrastructure and the resources. I think for the other countries in Southeast Asia, progress is a bit slower, but for maybe these 6 core markets, I think it's quite common that one market will be hot while another market sort of cools down. So personally, I'm quite happy to be working with an organization that is able to sort of bounce back and forth as needed. Overall story, though, I would say is that the Southeast Asia markets, in general, there's a large push for additional renewable energy. Some countries are moving more quickly than others, but the demand is definitely there. And definitely from the corporate side, there's a lot of political push to start allowing for some sort of green energy programs so that they're able to reach their renewable energy goals. Perhaps next slide, please. Yeah, so I think that this particular projection, I think we borrowed this from WoodMac. The growth for overall for the Southeast Asia markets, the growth that we're seeing is going to be quite high, quite robust over the next few years. Approximately 83 gigawatts of additional solar is expected by the end of the decade. From our point of view, as well as WoodMac, apparently, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Thailand appear to be some of the better markets for the growth. Again, as I mentioned in the previous slide, though, there's always in these markets, it's hot in one market while it cools down in the other. So I don't see it necessarily being as a steady growth, but sort of leaps and bounds for the different markets. But overall in the region, definitely experiencing very, very fast and robust growth. As I've mentioned a few times, corporate demand is really quite strong in all of these markets. Obviously, there's a lot of manufacturing, a lot of heavy industry in Southeast Asia, and really the push for a lot of this is coming from our corporate clients. And we are also seeing a lot of initial pilot programs kicking off in the region. So from our point of view, it's really starting, and we see a lot of growth from this side. Additionally, we're seeing sort of the newer, more innovative technologies seem to be penetrating the market going forward, especially in the markets that have either issues with the grid, which perhaps are pushing projects instead of being in the best location. Maybe they have to move to a slightly more complicated location, such as on top of a reservoir, or maybe agri-PV or things of that nature. So we're seeing that floating PV especially is being pushed out. I think there's quite a bit of potential in say Singapore, other Asian countries also that are a little bit more land constrained. As well as, for example, in Vietnam, where the grid is such a major issue. Perhaps if you could locate a project closer to the load center, then that can help alleviate some of the larger issues. So yeah, I think that's the general areas of growth that we're seeing. Overall, quite robust, and then in select countries, especially over the next few years, we're seeing sort of targeted newer technologies in the more difficult markets. And then with keeping an eye on the time, maybe I'll just very quickly go through a few of the project references that BayWa has completed in Southeast Asia over the last few years. Next slide, please. So Arau in Malaysia, we have it's approximately 5.5 megawatt project, which we have completed. This was through the LSS program. Next slide, please. Gebeng, again in Malaysia, approximately 40 megawatt project, also LSS. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, in Thailand, we have recently executed a floating solar project. Yeah, so next slide, please. Japan, we have the Izumi project, approximately 12 megawatts. Next slide. Sahara, Japan again, 35 megawatts. Next slide. And then also in a bit out of the market, Australia, Queensland, we have a 20 megawatt project. And then I believe the next slide is also a 100 plus megawatt project that we've also executed in, yeah, next slide. Yeah, 112 megawatt project that we've also executed in Australia. I think, as I mentioned, we're seeing quite strong growth sort of in selective markets. It starts here and there. It's a little bit of whack-a-mole. But overall, throughout the Southeast Asian markets, we're seeing quite a bit of growth. And we're expecting the growth to continue going forward as well. And I think I managed to complete the presentation exactly on time. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Andrew. BioEye is undoubtedly the leader in APAC solar space, as well as globally. Best wishes to your success. And I saw there are around 5 questions lining up in the Q&A box, waiting for you to address. So it would be highly appreciated. You can kindly stay a little bit longer for us, with us, and try to address these questions in a Q&A session. All right.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll get back to you later. And now let's welcome Mr. James Ho, Manager of India region of GoodWe, to give us a presentation on boosting APAC utility scale market with GoodWe solutions. James is responsible for India region business for GoodWe, leading the overall utility project development. James, are you with me now?
Yeah, Moni. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This is James from GoodWe. So today I'll be touching 2 parts. So first is about the global solar trend, and the second part will be about the product range GoodWe is offering to the global market. So let's get started. Okay, let's start with this, I would say, great moment in 2015 happened in Paris. More than 140 countries made their promise for net zero targets. That is pretty much covering 90% of the global emissions. The 140 countries putting together account for nearly 68% of the global economy. So it's a really significant moment for the for our environment and as well for our planet. So to reach the target set in Paris, here we list some figures that we have to reach. So talking about the solar power share of the total electricity generation, that will be 23% by 2050. So look at the figure today, we're standing at 3.28% actually. So a really long journey for us to go. And putting gigawatt, so that means we will have to achieve around 630 gigawatt annually, right? About the solar addition. So since 2030. Okay, so it's not a, as I mentioned, right, it's not an easy task at all. A lot of other challenges we have to overcome as well to achieve the target. So first, yeah, just like I mentioned, so the share of the solar has to be largely increased in the power generation segment. So also we have to increase the production capacity for different solar components in a big way, actually. So even though I know many of us are already worrying about the possible oversupply of the solar products, if we judge by the current scenario, but still to achieve the target, production capacity has to be increased. And also to maintain the steady growth for the solar, we really need to have a very strong and stable supply chain. So we don't want what we have been suffering in the past few months in this industry to be repeated again. And so talking about larger scale power plant, since that is a big size and huge capacity, so that is directly connected with the main grid. So security comes first. As we know that energy storage has always been referred to as the very promising part of solar. So also the industry is seeing a very strong trend in this. If we look at the data for the past few years, the annual growth of energy storage has been tripled every year. So standing at 12 gigawatt in 2021. And so very proud to say that Goodway has been a major force to drive the growth of energy storage segment since 2014. And also we were ranked by Wood Magazine in 2019 as the major supply for residential storage inverter. Again, we're standing at the gate to the future, the BIPV. So BIPV, this market size was valued at 14.4 billion US dollar in 2020. And we believe the industry will have some big boom starting from 2025. Here we're gonna introduce the inverters range provided by Goodway for different applications. First is the residential segment. Here we can see that starting from the roof, right? So we can provide the BIPV material to generate PV power, which will go through the inverter for the conversion, then to power the home loads or charge the electrical vehicles through EV charger or charge the battery for later stage use. So all the devices can be controlled by Goodway smart energy management system. Yeah, here is the product family provided by Goodway for the residential segment, covering on-grid, hybrid, retrofit, BIPV, as well as battery. And now we come to the C&I solution offered by Goodway. Here we can see two major products, namely SMT, covering the range from 50 kilowatt up to 60, from 25 kilowatt up to 60, and also the HT series from 100 kilowatt up to 136. This is about the commercial energy storage. So because since we were made this success in the residential storage, so many customers have been looking forward to see our commercial storage solutions. So here it is, two major products, ETC and BTC. So ETC, that is a hybrid PCS with the range from 50 to 100 kilowatt. And the BTC, that is AC coupling PCS, also with a range from 50 to 100 kilowatt. So now we come to the utility scale project solutions from Goodway. First, let's take a look at the single line. This page, the system overview actually. So from PV module up to the grid, and in between is what offered by Goodway, the 250 kilowatt string inverter, together with the MV station if required by customer. The communication and the monitoring can be done by its PLC technology. And the SCP-3000 as the communication box can connect with various weather sensors, as well as the module array trackers. And it will integrate the data, then transmit to the local server or the cloud. Yeah, this is a single line diagram for us to have a better view of the system. The GoodWe 250 kilowatt inverters will connect to LV switchgear, then to transformer, then to MV switchgear, from where it will be connected with the surrounding areas to make a whole system. Yeah, this is the introduction of the LV station, consisting of a LV room, transformer, MV room, with up to 40.5 kV voltage and 7,000 kVA capacity, and CVC ring main unit. Actually, it is a standard 20 feet container size, so that will be very convenient for transportation as well as for the installation. So it's designed for the outdoor use as well. Yeah, here are the main features of our 250 kilowatt string inverter with 6 MPPT and 20 ampere string current, type 2 SPD, and smart DC switch. I'll be touching with more details about some of the features later. String level monitoring, IV curve scanning, and also featured with a generation 3 FCI and either PID recovery or anti-PID. Okay, about this product, actually we have two different versions, the 250K with 15 ampere string current. So that will be compatible with the 182 type modules, and the 250K in with 20 ampere string current, which will be compatible with the 210 large modules. Okay, so this is some unique about this product. So instead of using the fuse right inside, we chose this one, this smart DC switch, which will trip off once the overcurrent is detected. And meanwhile, the arc problem will be prevented as well. So by using this DC switch, we can avoid using the fuse, right? So which will be very helpful for the easier O&M. Okay, for PID, we are offering either PID recovery or anti-PID according to different requirements from the site. Yeah, the communication box SCP-3000, it can connect maximum 60 numbers GoodWe 250K string inverter, and by integrating the data, it will support the SCADA system for the O&M of the power plant. And so it can also be compatible with various PPC platform to faster respond to the grid control commands. That is very frequently required by different countries nowadays. So this is the intelligent management system platform developed by GoodWe. And so for the power plant majorly, and with the features listed below, so I'll be touching with more details later. Yeah, this is one of them, smart IV curve diagnosis. It is able to detect up to 20 types of different errors, such as micro cracks, on the modules, shadows, and open circuit as well. And so it is integrated with AI technology, which will enable it to have this self-learning ability. And it is able to finish the scanning of a 10 megawatt system within 5 minutes and generate the report within 10 minutes. Here are some of the different solutions we're providing to like various 1,500 voltage scenarios. So first, that is the all-in-one platform, which will help to lower down the LCOE and also make the installation much easier and the communication faster, and as well as reduce the O&M costs. And talking about using the 1,500 voltage inverter on C&I rooftop projects. So a lot of benefits there as well for our customers, like lower cost for construction, lower LCOE, higher power generation, and it will be compatible with 210 type modules as well. So once, as long as the rooftop is concerned, so safety will be a major topic. So here we provide FCI, GFCI, and the leakage current detection, and also the smart DC switch we just mentioned. So to make sure that it will have the highest safety standard. Okay, we're coming to the last page of this. So we here invite you to visit our online community to get access to free online webinars and practical video guidance, professional and dedicated forum, real-time response until the issue is totally resolved. And you can earn the points by participating in the community activities. So the points can be exchanged with gifts provided by GUI. So it will be sharing the same ID account with our SAM's portal. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Moni, over to you.
Thank you, James, for a kind introduction, very informative. And also, I found one question for you in the Q&A box. It would be appreciated if you can kindly address. And pursuant to James' introduction, we also have a small conversation with Jill at this moment to find out the role of inverter in LCOE reduction and what's JA's advantage and offering to the clients. So Jill, say hi to the audience first.
Yes, hi Molly. Hello everybody.
Yes, like mentioned by James, inverter is a very key component that draws the market attention. The current inverter market is featured by 4 trends, namely digitalization, modularization, flexibility, and user friendliness. What's GoodWe's uniqueness in product offering and how it helps with LCOE reduction?
Yes, thanks Molly for the question. That GoodWe as a leading PV industry innovator always committed to promoting our technology innovation to lower the LCOE for solar system. GoodWe upgraded our inverters by increasing the power classes of utility inverters. So the number of inverters in a megawatt or even gigawatt project can be saved to lower the initial investment. From the solar system level, GoodWe inverters has the advantage of excellent DC oversizing and AC overloading capability to bring the system more yielding. GoodWe R&D teams always focus on the improving the inverters of functions that help saving the cable investment. For example, the increase of the DC input voltage helps to save the DC cable investment because the fewer string need to be used. Advanced smart energy management system also makes Goodwe outstanding in LCOE reduction, like IV curve diagnosis and the string level monitoring helps, saving the cost and the money on the maintenance. Not only, but also the Goodwe's strong market and finance performance over the period had landed as the highest in the Altman's Z-score among the PV manufacturer on the Bloomberg EF's annual report. Displays strong finance and healthy and backability. Last year, more than 300 megawatts is already installed in the utility scale in China. Also, many of the global famous brands choose Goodwe as their first choice, like Tata, Bosch, Siemens. For example, more than 10 pieces of Goodwe HT inverters have been installed in India. With the cutting-edge technology and an extensive list of features, the HT series offer lower maintenance cost, increasing the safety and the remote monitoring make the solar projects higher reliable. These outstanding sets of the features were conceived to ensure the lowest LCOE and a utility that runs the efficiency. Thanks, Molly. That's my answer.
Thank you indeed. Personally, I trust the quality and reliability of Goodwe products, and we see a great growth potential in the inverter market. But as mentioned by Holly previously, there are some fluctuations in the global energy supply chain, and one major result would be the shortage in ships. Does it have any impact to Goodwe's supply? How do you perceive the fluctuation, and how do you respond?
Actually, the Goodwe the supply chain management is okay. So far, you know, the global semiconductor situation is still in a strong shortage situation. But Goodwe already improved this step by step, and we believe that our output and delivery will be the top of the PV inverter industry since this year.
Right, and I hope all the clients have listened to the answer and feel confident to book your order. Yes, and thank you so much, Jill, for the explanation, and we look forward to more good news from your side.
Thanks, Molly.
Thanks, and the upcoming person would be Mr. Dawei Zhao, Director for Solar APAC with Power China Huadong Engineering. Dawei, are you with me?
Yes, thank you, Molly.
Yes, so please fire up your presentation. We'd love to learn more about Huadong Engineering's practice and your learnings.
Okay. So Molly, can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dawei from Power China Huadong Engineering Corporation Limited. I'm so privileged for today's opportunity to share about our solar business as well as our EPC solution. So my presentation mainly covers the 3 parts as follows. First, brief introduction of our company. Second, some highlights of our solar achievements. Third, our EPC strategy of Power China Huadong. So Power China Huadong is a subsidiary of Power China Group, the leading energy construction company in the world. Power China Group has more than 210,000 employees worldwide and has marketed strong presence in over 130 countries. We are one of the Fortune 500 companies and highly recognized by the ENR in terms of the design and construction ability. Power China Huadong was established way back in 1954 with our headquarters stationed in Hangzhou. As per records, the company keeps more than 7,000 employees, half of which are well-experienced engineers with updated know-hows in the state-of-the-art technologies. We had 3.7 billion US dollars revenue in 2020. And we expect the 2021, the revenue will be a little bit higher than previous year. So at the beginning, the Powertela Huadong, we started as a hydropower design company. Then we provide the consultant and the design service to the client. Gradually, we expanded our business to solar, onshore wind, and offshore wind. And back to 2010, we started to provide the EPC service. So we stick to our company mission to serve projects and promote the harmonious development between the man and nature. We have the faith that we can become a first-class international engineering company with the support from our partners and the clients. As started from an institution company, we are proud to say we can provide the whole process service, including the design, the FS, and also the EPC and operation and maintenance. So here, as for the second part, I've now to share some of our solar performance. This is a big picture of our solar business. We started the overseas solar business in 2017. And so far, we have participated in solar projects with a total capacity of 3,691 megawatts. And 2,691 megawatts was completed. And there are 1,200 megawatts was under operation by the Powertela Huadong O&M team. And so far, as of now, in Asia Pacific region, there are still 500 light megawatts solar projects under construction, mainly in the Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. Lakes Nemi and some highlighted projects that was undertaken by us. So this is the Yuding Solar Power Project, was located in Tây Ninh province in Vietnam with the capacity of the 500 megawatts. Back then, it was the largest solar power project in the Southeast Asia. At that time, actually, I was also the bidder manager for this project, in charge of organizing the bidding and also the contract negotiation with the owner. The project was put into operation in June 2019. The owner is Big Green from Thailand and Xingao of Vietnam. We actually, for this project, we have provided a full package, including the 2 years construction financing and also the EPC and the OM service. The scope of work, including the 2020 kV substation, transmission line, as well as the solar park. Here we can say this project is a little bit special. The site is in the submerged net and is flooded half of the year. So we used the PHC pile to conquer and overcome the floating issue. And the piling and the installation work actually has to be done both in net and the water area. I think you can say behind the background picture was a piling ship. And during the flooding area, we have to do the piling work by the ship and also do the installation work on the pontoons. So this project actually has been completed in the 11 months. It's a very tight schedule. At that time, we mobilized nearly 2,000 skilled workers to speed up all the construction schedule. And interestingly, one thing I have to mention, for this project, we are the Chinese contractor and the owner is from the Vietnam and Thailand. And we also mobilized some engineer and management team from the Pakistan. The OE is from the UK, Australia, and even the South Africa. So actually, this project was delivered by a really international team. I mean, the people from different backgrounds and different country, different culture. So this project is a Phu Minh solar project located in the Vietnam, Ninh Thuan province. It was 50 megawatt, and the NTP was the June 19th, 2020, and the COD time is September 18th, 2020. I think you can say this project we completed in a very extremely short time. This is because we have a really wide range experience in Vietnam at that time, because we have delivered around 800 megawatt solar project in Vietnam in 2019 already. So in 2020, for the sixth FIT solar project, we can make it in such a short time. Actually, the scope of work is including the solar park substation and the transmission line. Of course, there are around 1.5 months LNTP time actually. So totally, it will be around just 5 months. And this project is a wind and solar combined project. So you can say the site actually is. The site actually is scattered, so we have to take consideration of the wind design from at the very beginning. And this project is the first tracker project actually we have delivered in the Southeast Asia. The panel is supplied by GA. The inverter is Huawei string inverter, and the mounting structure is Arctic single axis tracker. About the EPC delivery stage, actually I want to share it in 3 ways. First is be international. Second is be local, and the third is be systematic. We can say, as for overseas EPC project, communication is always basic, but likewise very essential. So our design and project management team actually will be powered from the, the people from the different countries. Like the people, they will have the different culture, nationality, or region, and even the back education background. Especially for the design company. Like I mentioned before, we were a design institute company. So actually we emphasize the design very much. Actually, that's also the first thing when we bid the project or we start to construct a project. We have the design engineers, a design center in Dubai, Pakistan, Chile, and of course, we have the design team in Hangzhou, our headquarters. And so actually for us, we as a Chinese EPC contractor, we do promote the Chinese standard, but we do not stick to the Chinese standard. We work on freely the global insights or some global expertise and idea, as well as their ideas. So we and the engineers or co-workers from other country, we work together to deliver a technical proposal to the employer. So this is the reason why we emphasize international. Only when you are an international team, you can deliver the project in a short time, and also you can reduce the communication misunderstanding. Second is be local. Actually, we do achieve some. I have to say it's really some achievement in the Vietnam solar market. We have to say we can say we are the top 1 solar EPC contractor in the Vietnam. That's because actually we really have a long history in the Vietnam. We entered the Vietnam market in early 2000s. from the hydropower project. Then we stick to that market and focused on the hydropower, the wind, and the solar. So actually, we valued the cooperation with local subcontractor or local expertise. We think more about the cooperation rather than the competition with the local people or the local companies. Here I can give an example, like we have 2 wind projects in Pakistan. The whole on-site work is fully delivered by the local management team. Only the project manager is the Chinese. And even the design, it's the local design center. I mean, the engineer from the local design center cooperate with the engineers in China. And they prepared the design, all the design work to the client. So, so you can say with the help from the local subcontractor or local supplier. So that's the reason why in some country or in some places we can deliver the project in a short time, and also we can guarantee the project schedule. The last but not least, it has to be systematic. We have a standard procedure. I mean, start from the bidding to like engineering, procurement, and construction. Being systematic means like staff, they are all goal-oriented, meaning they clearly understand their responsibility and their professional rights. So the people can work efficiently with the right standard work procedures. And it is believed that it will also guarantee the owner a standard project delivery. Even the project is undertaken by diverse teams in Power Channel Huadong. Actually, in terms of project management, our target is like being systematic, make project manager be an easy job with support from different departments instead of the headache. Yeah. So generally, this is our EPC deliver strategy. So first is be international, second is be local, and last but not least, it's be systematic. And I'd love to have more discussing with all of you if you are interested to discuss more about the EPC delivery strategy. And here, feel free to contact us even you need any support or the consultant from the EPC side or from the design side. This is Dawei. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your listening. Thank you, Molly. That's all my presentation.
Thank you, Dawei, for the sharing, and please stay with us a little longer for our last but not least session, the panel discussion on competitive LCOE solutions to drive region-wide deployment of solar PV. The session consists of 4 dear colleagues, 3 right now. Please take stage. First, Dawei from Power China Huadong Engineering, then Mr. Max Zhang from Arctech, Mr. Andrew Zhang from JA Solar. The 3 panel colleagues, please turn on your mic and video.
Hey Molly, this is Max from Arctech. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. So to kick off the discussion, I'd suggest everyone gives a short introduction of yourself and the way in which your organization is involved in the solar LCOE reduction. I think starting with Andrew, then Mike and Dawei. We will also end the sharing screen for the moment.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon, and this is Andrew from JA Solar Asia Pacific Sales Team. And thanks for the opportunity provided by GUWI joining this GUWIC Asia Pacific webinar section. So I would like to brief some key points about JA Solar. JA Solar is one of top 3 solar module manufacturer, which is set up since 2005. And our current global marketing share is around 11%, achieved by JA Advanced Vertical Technology and JA Advanced solar module technology and the vertical integrated business model. And currently, JA has roughly around 25,000 employees globally. And our annual module manufacturing is more than 40 gigawatt. And actually, from JA perspective, so we devote JA premier solar products to our value customer with the best LCOE analysis for fulfilling the aggressive PPA requirement.
Thanks. Then Max, please.
Hey, this is Max. I'm in charge of APAC region in ArcTech. We're doing the solar tracker business, and our target markets is a region like Vietnam, Malaysia, and also some projects in Thailand as well. And the key market in the APAC region is Australia. Thank you.
Hey, Max, did you open your video system?
Yes, please. Yeah, I open. Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And Dawei, please, again, a short introduction about yourself, the Huadong Engineering, and how that relates to LCOE reduction.
Yes, thank you, Molly. So this is Dawei from PowerChina Huadong, and now I'm in charge of I'm mainly in charge of the Vietnam market as well as the solar project in the Asia Pacific region. Actually, mainly for the Southeast Asia country. I have been in the Vietnam like the 4 years. Also have the experience in Malaysia and the Singapore solar power project market. And now I'm in the I'm based in the Philippines. We have some project here under construction, so I came here to support. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dawei, and thank you, Max and Andrew. If you don't mind, I'd like to throw our first question to Andrew, as module accounts for probably 40% of the overall equipment cost. So, Andrew, high power, high efficiency, and high reliability are the 4 ultimate goals for panel manufacturers. Can you firstly give us an overview of the PV module market status quo at the moment, and what's JA's advantage in this competitive segment? What's your current focus, and what are your next steps?
Okay, thanks, Molly. Actually, this is really a good question, which most of the customers are concerning about. Is actually from high power and high efficiency perspective, as done by solar industry. JA is the first company launched PERC mono product since 2013, which did many success story reference in Phase 1 top random project in Datong, Shanxi of China. And of course, compared with previously polycrystalline silicon technology, PERC mono has at least 20 to 30 wattage increment and extra 2 to 3% efficiency enhancement and a single module base. And during 2013 to 2019, actually JA R&D team and the product team are continuously improving PERC mono technology innovation and integrated with many kinds of leading workmanships. Examples such as PERC selective emitter, PERC SE, and the busbar upgrade from 4 BB to 5 BB, now then to 9 BB, 11 BB. And in the cell side, also we got changes from full cell to half cell, which aiming for the increasing the module power together with efficiency. And during 2019 to 2020, as wafer sizing upgrade from upstream silicon supply and wafer supply, so JA also launched 166 millimeters module and 182 millimeters module for meeting the inquiry of lower PPA. And we are always making sure JA products are aggressive on high power and efficiency side at both. And of course, before launch any kind of new technology and workmanship, and JA R&D and product team always make sure that our product is reliable and pass the reliability tests in third-party lab, such as threshold tests, the advanced. And currently, JA is a company who obtained the top brand PV for 6 consecutive year and award TUV Ryan annual award with energy simulation and TUV Node Outdoor Yield Performance Awards. And in mobile, we are also covered with many third-party labs in overseas, such as DNV and RTC lab for product reliability test. And we also got PVEL top performer and RTC overall high achiever in past 3 years. And for future technology, JE also reserved the patents by ourselves. And for this year, 2022, JE will launch N-type Deep Blue 4.0 module for breakthrough PTAC cell per mono 23% efficiency bottlenecking. And in the meanwhile, we also integrate with new workmanship, which is obtained our patent already for the Deep Blue Pro series with gapless workmanship, which this will also enhance module efficiency and the power at the same time. And for cell technology part, JE also reserved the technology of like HJT, IBC, and the tandem technology in our hand. And this may be launched in a couple of years when it's passed the reliability test and the metro production. That's it, Molly.
Thanks, Andrew. Good job for JA. And the next question to Max. The evolving tracker industry play a key role in driving down the LCOE cost while maximizing the yields. Max, what's your perception on the innovations in tracker and how it impacts the solar business? What's trending at the moment?
Okay, thanks, Molly. Very good question. Solar tracker provides a significant advantage for renewable energy. With the solar tracking, the power output can be increased, let's say, about by 25%, even to 40% with bifacial modules. The increase in power output promises to open new trends for solar power in terms of those existing markets become grid parity application. But however, there's a trend in the markets about the solar module. The module size become much more bigger than it was. Now, even we use the 210 module or 182 cell module, the dimension of module is becoming much, much bigger, even 1.5 times than it was. But that change makes a very big impact on the solar tracker when we start the design. Because if we put a lot of more solar panels on one track, the length of tracker will be much longer than before. So in the meantime, the different type of modules, different type of solutions will make the tracker types also complicated. For example, we will have exterior, interior, and far interior, even the corner. So it's actually maybe 4 or 5 types, different string, different type of trackers. That work will make the installation job much more difficult and takes longer time for the installation. So a modular designed tracker system is a way, also this is a trend when we consider to adapt the big module application, but really main reason is to reduce the installation cost, such as our Skyline 2 single access tracker, which was launched in last year. We only have 2 types of tracker products in one project. It's very easy to do. And most of the components are also commonly used. It's very friendly to those clients. They don't have too much experience to using tracker system or those markets where the labor cost is very high, such as Australia. So I would say the modular designed tracker will be a trend in the market. Thanks, Molly.
Thanks, Max. And both panel and tracker, we consider them as part of the BOS, the balance of system. And now it's time to zoom out and take a look into the big picture. So the optimal system design is the foundation to achieving the lowest LCOE. The question goes to HDEC. How you manage what are your key design principles? How you manage the influencing factors like land, grade, tech choices, and how you plan for these big and complex projects? So can you give us a bit more details that way?
Okay. Thank you. This is a very big question, actually. I can give some principle according to my experience. So first, as we all know, the capex, the capex is comprised with two parts. First is the EPC capex, and the second is non-EPC capex. And as EPC contractor, actually we are very aware of the EPC cost and also, I mean, the EPC solution, EPC cost. But to analyze or really find a lowest LCOE solution, so we need to also consider the non-EPC cost. But actually, sometimes this is very confidential. The client don't share with us, and but we need to closely work with the client and figure out what is the critical matter for the non-EPC cost. I can share one experience we have recently. We have experienced in Philippines. As you know, the Philippines, the net acquirement is very tricky, very difficult. And so at the beginning, we give the owner a very standard design, like the standard mounting structure. So for the net, maybe, for example, the total installed capacity will be around 100 ton or 120 megawatts, for example, like 100 hectare net. But the owner is not satisfied because when he calculated the revenue from the energy output and also the EPC cost and the expected OM cost, and maybe their IRR or the financial receipt is not very satisfied as they expected. So they ask us to optimize the solution. And finally, we find out, I mean, like the net issue. So we understand, like because the net is so limited and hard to, and maybe you have to obtain the net in a very high price. So we try to install install as much as panel as possible, increase the DC-AC ratio, unlike the ordinary solution. Finally, we use the dome structure. I mean, the east and west orientation compared with the normal mounting structure, the south orientation. And then we can increase the total DC capacity to like 135 megawatts. That means the DC-AC ratio actually increased, even in the same net. And we have to admit, I mean, compared with the normal solutions, the energy output, the performance ratio actually is a little bit lower, but the energy output, the total energy output is much higher because we installed the more panels on the same net. Then after the owner optimize the solution into consideration, then we can make this project possible because it's financially feasible. So according to this example, I want to mention as a design company, as an EPC company with a very strong desirability, we will look in the whole picture, try to understand the client's requirement or the client's real need, even the clients don't recognize it. And I think that's the main principle or the most important factor for us to figure out lowest LCOE solution. Thank you, Molly. Yeah.
Thank you, Dawei. And as we are reaching the time limits, I think we can have one more question for all the panelists before we wrap up. So it's again about the APAC supply chain management, as I raised the question to Joe before. And I think this question can also include Holly to provide some comments. As mentioned that the global supply chain is fluctuating these days in terms of solar industry. The marine transportation fee is skyrocketing along with other commodity prices like steel. Also, we see the shortage in chips, which could bring negative impacts to the inverter, but has been perfectly addressed by Goodway. And also, to Dawei, EPC probably suffers the most. what's your respective opinions on that fluctuation of supply chain and how your organization try to manage around these challenges? The question to 4 speakers that way, Andrew, Max, and Holly.
Maybe I start first because yes. Firstly, I think from the supply chain side, mainly from the polysilicon to module side, we saw in the past 2 years the poly prices hike dramatically. Actually, even till the first quarter of this year, the poly price still under quite higher levels, and that's quite impact with the whole module supply chain side, with the module price also quite higher recently. So that's why we saw the utility scale projects or demand is quite under pressure with this kind of high price. But the thing is, we're still thinking like tracking the poly side of capacity, the new capacity release on the market that will be ease more the pressures from the poly side to the module side. So I think we will see some price decline, reasonable price decline from poly side, and making the wafer to module side price decline in by maybe second half of this year, hopefully. Yeah, that's my views.
Thank you, Holly. Now the question comes to Andrew. What's your response to Kelly's description?
Hello. To be honest, I totally agree with Holly's comments. First of all, is solar module also belongs to one kind of semiconductor industry products from the upstream, and what is the most affected is for the raw silicon material fluctuation last year and especially this year, because now is but what we can see is that here from the public news that some raw material silicon supplier already start the wafer and the sale pricing. This is not good news currently, but we also can see that there are also many announcements that other silicon suppliers are expand their production capacity until this year, Q2, Q4. If the environment in China is, let's say, peaceful. Actually, I said that China is always considered setting up the harmony, society, and development economic prosperity for hitting the 5 years target, and of course, from module point of view, so we are also facing some changes for the costing from the upstream. And from JA perspective, so first of all is we are putting up more vertical business, not only the vertical business, but also the horizon from JA company strategy. For vertical, we are trying to expand our production capacity from the wafer, cell, and module. And from horizon side, we also covering more raw materials such as frame, EVA, and backsheet area. And this will make our cost cutting more aggressive, maybe within this year. And for the but these actions should be as said that implement step by step, and according to the global political and economic situation challenges. And of course, I said that China is one of the very important countries that affect the interglobal solar industry market and supply chain. So it has a 2016 carbon neutrality target, and it also has the solar incentive plan, and all the raw material also produced in China, and also affect the overseas market because of the supply chain fluctuation. And like Jay, so we, according to our revenue in 2021, so 60% of our supply goes to overseas markets, and 40% goes to China inland market. So for overseas market, especially Asia Pacific market, is still one of our focus for the project opportunity and the project taking off. So we are seeking that maybe for 2022. So we have a peaceful year, and maybe as Holly said, that the upstream price maybe goes down in Q3, Q4. So so that we can offer our aggressive price and also aggressive quality product to our EPC partners. That's it, Molly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next, Max, let's narrow down the perspective from the commodity side.
Yeah.
I think that would be the big problem.
Yeah, we are facing the same situation as JA and others, solar manufacturers, panel manufacturers, but we are facing the different problems. They were facing the silicon material problem, but we are facing the commodity problem, such as the steel. For example, the cost of steel has been, let's say, increasing since last year, and now the cost of steel is at a very high level. That makes our, let's say, the cost of tracker a lot bit higher than it was. But also in the meantime, the transportation cost is much higher than it was. For example, the shipping cost from China to United States used to be, let's say, $4,000 or $5,000 every container per container, but now the cost to the United States at least $20,000 every container. That makes all the cost of our total products, for example, solutions like tracker solution and modules or inverters, the whole system's cost higher than it was. That will, I would say, delay to let's say the schedule of the projects when they developed or is still in the COD commissioning stage. Then I would say I would not be optimistic for this kind of problems due to different reasons, but I would say we still have some hope that maybe at the end of this year or early next year, then the situation will be better. So we will, back to normal. Then I would say we will have much more opportunities because the solar, the clean energy, the renewable energy is still the trend for all of us. Thanks, Molly.
Thanks, Max. And for Dawei, in 2 short sentences, can you describe your response to the situation and what's your solutions?
Okay, thank you. Speaking of the supply chain, I have to say we are a state-owned company. We are also a backable EPC. So the first important thing is we should have a fixed EPC price. But you can say, as people mentioned, the raw material increase, also global inflation, the oil price increase. And I have to say, actually, we do suffer from it. And we do suffer from it. Like I still remember in the golden days, like the GA, maybe they give a quotation 20, but maybe like next month it's 19 and maybe 18. So that's the golden days. But for the near future, I also don't expect the EPC price can be go down, or the raw material price can go down, can sink or go down. Yeah, but now currently our solution is first. We signed a fixed EPC contract price. Actually, both the supplier and us, we all have an estimation about the supply price in the near future. And then we will use our in-house engineer to freeze the design as soon as possible. Then I think we will lock for example, the panel price or the mounting structure price or the price of the other product. Because as long as we lock the price, actually we can sort of reduce the risk. Even we can say if we take a long time to do the design, that means, for example, the PV module price maybe next month and this month can be like 10% over than before. That's the real situation. So for our action, first is we freeze the design as soon as possible, then lock the supply chain price. And second is actually now we are a leading EPC contractor. We are implementing, many projects all over the world. So we will consider some strategic cooperation with the supplier or also with the owner. Maybe this project we do have some risk, but maybe next project we have some profit. Yeah, so that's we can make it balance. I think this is a kind of multi-effect. So you must be bigger, so you have the are more capable to reduce the risk or avoid the risk. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawei, for your kind explanation. And I'd like to again thank you, our dear panel colleagues, Polly, Dawei, Max, Andrew, and Feng Li Zhao. Time always flies and our event is coming to an end here. I believe that through this webinar, we have gained new insights and understanding of the solar market and project development in APAC region. Once again, I would like to thank all the guests and audience for your active participation and consistent support. We look forward to our next encounter, and on behalf of Good Week, I thank you for your support and participation.